Good morning, everybody. Yes, I'm rolling early. Okay. Well, welcome. I hope you're all well. Today's Good Friday. And no, I missed Good Friday. Today is Saturday. Yesterday was Good Friday. So happy Good Friday and happy Easter. And that is actually what I'm doing. I am on the road and going to go spend some time with somebody very important to me for Easter Sunday. Okay. So I got a couple of topics here. I'm going to be driving for about 8 hours today, so you're probably going to get several videos. I hope I don't bug you all to death. I'll overlook the ones you're not interested in. I'll break them up into smaller videos because I do have a list of topics that I'm going to discuss on the way on my drive. No, I'm not looking at my phone. I'm holding it in my hand and I can't see the screen, so don't fuss at me. Okay, so I want to have a serious conversation about humor and true crime. I sometimes, not very often, but I sometimes get comments, emails, where people say things like, let me think of one. Oh, they felt like I was being disrespectful, right, to the victim. I was being disrespectful to the victim, that don't I know that true crime is a serious topic and that it's in very poor taste to make jokes and to laugh, while we're talking about these horrific tragedies, really. Well, I agree more than anyone exactly what nightmare these victims can experience. You are preaching to the choir, I can promise you. One of the things that I did, and most people that come to my channel listen to me, what my job is, and one of the people, just like everybody grieves differently and everybody celebrates differently. Well, we also experience victimization differently. There's a big wide range of how people respond when they've been victimized, and of course the way you respond when you're being victimized depends upon what your personality features, factors are, and the factors that are most dominant in your constellation of factors. It depends, on who you are and what your experiences have been in the world. If you're one of these people that experienced a great deal of victimization as a young person, sometimes those people, they just kind of roll with it. They're very cynical, and they just feel like, oh, well, this is nothing new. This is the way life is, and this is. They were raised in a way that they were quite protected, and so when they are victimized in a crime or trauma, then they can be literally just knocked to their knees. The shock of what they experience is overwhelming. Y'all have heard me speak, those of you that are regular watchers of my channel, you've heard me speak about the need for kids to engage in things like board games and sports and things with other types of competitions, things where, yes, they have the possibility and the hope of experiencing success. They learn how to work, delay gratification and work toward a goal. But one of the things that is most critical about playing board games or playing summer sports or entering into competitions is that they learn in a safe environment. They learn how to experience disappointment and even sometimes defeat and trauma. And the empaths of the world, they want to shelter kids because they are gentle. They don't want hurt. And so they want to shelter children from these very real experiences in life. And the net effect is that we will experience them. Nobody gets through life unscathed. Nobody. Even people that seem to have it all together, and they've got friends and great careers, and somebody dropped a boatload of money into their lap, and you think, wow, if only that was me, then I could really be happy. No. Everyone will experience difficult times. That's one of the things that has been most instrumental, I think, among our culture in the United States of America and maybe Canada. It has been the one thing that has been most instrumental in our mood problems, is that so many of us just believe that if we just changed a little bit, if we just acted a little differently, if we just made different choices, then these bad things would not have happened to us and our life would be happy. That is not true. The reality is bad things will happen, and they do happen. It is a normal, natural part of life, and there is not anything wrong with it. You can learn from the bad things that happen. You can learn from them and go forward. And perhaps that's the point of them, is how many times have you ever said, hey, my life is going awesome. I've got great friends. I've got a great job. I got plenty of money. Life is going well. I think I'll change. Nobody changes when they're content. Nobody changes when they're happy. Our period of change, our time of growth, is when something goes wrong. And so you might even look at these times where bad things happen. You might look at them more as an opportunity for growth and doing better, but they will happen. Now, in the special case of crime, where either you, someone you love, someone you know, becomes a victim of crime, then it does take on a more traumatic level than, let's say, losing your home, right? Like having foreclosure or getting fired from a job. When it's true crime, when it's crime, it takes on a different flavor of trauma because someone actually visited this difficulty on you. They had to go to a lot of work to bring a nightmare sometimes into your life and the life of the people you love. And in that case, then of course it's hard to accept, oh, this is a natural part of life. I'm with you. I don't think it's natural. I think that there are a lot of people that get victimized by people that have been hurt and victimized and have not known how to manage it. That's who I think the criminal is. I think the criminal is someone who, through a combination of environment and victimization in their own right, became a monster. They didn't know how to manage, and they didn't have anybody to coach them to manage through the challenges that they were experiencing. And you become Ted Bundy, right? And that, of course, is the extreme. Or in today's news, you become Anthony Todd, who I call Mr. Toad. Okay? Now then, so we need our kids to experience these formative activities and experience disappointment, failure. And the reason we need them to experience that is so that their loving, supportive parents can teach them coping skills on what do you do when you lose the ball game? What do you do when you you strike out at the bat? How do you manage when, the one roll of the dice and you lost in Monopoly? How do you do it? What do you tell yourself? What are the things you do to uplift your soul? How do you move on and do things that are self-comforting after you've become disappointed. In an effort to shield our kids, we're denying them those really important formative behaviors. We're doing it out of love. We love our babies. We don't want them hurt. We don't want them disappointed. But they need to do it. They need to experience those things in a safe and loving environment where there is a healthy parent there who is going to hug them and say, you know what, it's okay. This is going to be, I know you feel bad right now, but you know what? Let's get in the car, drive up to Sonic, get us a Coke, and let's look at the movies. And me and you are going to go to the movie tomorrow. So you've just taught that little kid to do something sensory that is self-soothing, and then distract your mind from the disappointment by looking into the future. Do you want to know how much money I make every year with me teaching people that process? Now, yes, it's a little bit more complicated than that, my point is that if these people were being allowed these activities and opportunities in the earlier years of their lives, they would never experience such overwhelming breakdown in their support structure in life, that they wouldn't be in a position that they would feel like they would need to search somebody out. And I'm grateful. I'm going to tell you, I'm grateful when these people come to my office. I'm grateful, and the reason is because I seem to understand, and my patients get better. So, and it's not completely the stereotypical, it's okay to feel like you feel. I think, I'm Adlerian. My theoretical orientation for therapy is really a foundation of Adlerian therapy, which kind of brushes against Rogers, but I'm absolutely a behaviorist, and I know that the reason that we do the things that we do is because we learned to do them. We were positively reinforced for our behavior, even if it was even if it's a negative behavior. We still, somewhere along the way, experienced positive reinforcement. And positive doesn't mean good and happy and sweet and nice. Positive is a mathematical value, meaning that something was added to the person's environment that increased the likelihood of that behavior occurring again. And negative reinforcement doesn't mean that it's bad or that it hurts. Negative reinforcement is something was taken out of that person's environment to increase the likelihood that that behavior would happen again. Punishment is where you add something to the environment to reduce the likelihood of a behavior occurring in the future. So we make no mistake about it. I'm convinced that we do the things we do because we've been shaped and conditioned to do those things. And if what we have been reinforced to do is maladaptive and it doesn't help, then we develop problem behaviors. And it's also really great to accept that, because it means that things can get better. It means that you can learn to not do these maladaptive behaviors. Now, you may be saying to yourself, what the hell does this have to do with humor and true crime? Okay, well, here's what it has to do with humor and true crime. People don't understand the humor. I'm talking about with reference to these true crime stories. People don't, not everyone, the majority of people are fine with it. It doesn't bother them, or if it bothers them, they just don't care. Just leave and they don't listen to the video. But a lot of people feel that they want to leave a comment about it or ask about it or whatever. And here's the reason why the humor is really important for talking about these tragedies, right? So in the same way that Chris McDonough is was a detective, his focus is on the investigation, right? That's where his if you go and watch his show, his YouTube channel, there's a great deal of discussion on the things that he might look for if he's conducting an investigation or if he's questioning a witness or a criminal. Well, if you think about what my job is in real life, a lot of my time is spent in this idea of how do people manage when they're faced with big loss and big trauma or a lifetime of maladaptive behaviors. How do they cope? How do they learn to be happy again, right? And with the people that do CBT, and there's a lot of you guys that are therapists, and there's a lot of you guys that have gone through this therapy process, and you've heard of cognitive behavioral therapy, and you very likely have engaged in cognitive behavioral therapy in a way at some point. And we go through a list of this, I call it stinking thinking, but basically it's dysfunctional thoughts. It's a pattern, and there's multiple types, but it's a pattern of thought that ultimately leads you to a depressive or anxious state. And so we teach people to recognize their automatic negative thoughts, and we not everybody does all of them. We have preferred negative thoughts. And so we teach people to know them, to recognize which ones they use, and then how do you reframe that thought? How do you turn it into a fact-based thought, so that it's something that you can either reality test, or you can find an accurate solution, an effective solution. How do you go through that process? And one of the big things that people do, and I've noticed that a lot of people that are engaged in this true crime pursuit, a lot of people, well, I hate to tell you, but we are catastrophizing, okay? We are catastrophizing. And you can get on the Google and search out catastrophizing as a automatic negative thought and see what that is. Well, there are definitely catastrophes in the world. I'm certainly not the person here to say there's not. Absolutely, there are catastrophes. What's happening in the Ukraine, that's a catastrophe. I fear that the mental health of our president, it may become a catastrophe. I'm very concerned about him. I don't mean as from a political point of view. I mean, he appears to really be struggling with dementia, and that's very sad for him and his family. And I think he should be given dignity and protected, and not put in front of the cameras. But he is the most powerful man in the world, so that's going to happen. But anyway, there's a tangent. Okay, back on track. So we do catastrophize quite a bit. Normally people like true crime. They also like disaster movies. So some of us are sort of into this bigger drama, larger than life, reaction. Or preppers catastrophize, don't they? Scott Rice selling his prepper food, that's a form of catastrophizing. That, if this happens, that means the end of the world. Oh, if this happens, then that means, end times are upon us, and there's going to be zombies in the city, and there's going to be a breakdown in the food chain, and we better buy our, food prep. Okay. Now then, why do I respond to these criminals in kind of a humorous kind of way? Well, there's a couple of reasons why. Number one, the deal with the names, right? Like Chad Daybell is the Chadster, aka Chins. Okay. Barry Morphew is Black Bart. And then, of course, Mr. Tote is Mr. Toad. Okay, now why do I do that? Like, what am I being disrespectful to victims? Right? And the answer is no, absolutely. In fact, I'm honoring the victims because when we take... Let me focus my words on Anthony Toad. He is a monster. He is every bit of a monster as Ted Bundy. He is not human. Sorry. Just take my word for it. He is as bad as it gets. The horror that Megan, his wife, and their children experienced empowered Anthony Toad. He enjoyed killing them. There's reasons that I say that. There's things that he said on the stand. There's reasons that I say that he enjoyed it. He was empowered. He liked the power and sense of control, and I suspect that a lot of that came from the fact that his father had attempted to kill his mother, and the mother in his eyes was so weak and so stupid and so ineffective that she believed the father and stayed with him. Well, I don't think that she was weak or stupid or any of those things. I think she was severely abused. I think she was terrified. That's what I think. I think she was terrified and felt, if I try to leave this man, he will find me. That's what I think happened. And it was only once he went to jail that she was able to get away from him. So imagine being this 9, 10, 11-year-old kid watching the horror of your dad basically brutalize and victimize your mother to a point that she's so frightened of leaving that he shoots you in the head and you stay. Well, he didn't. He hired somebody, but she knew damn well who did it. Who else would kill? Who would go out of their way to kill a housewife, a woman without a lot of contacts outside the home? Back to that victimology thing, right? So Toad watched that, and he probably grew up with an element of disgust for his mother, that she didn't try to protect him and get them into a better situation. But then as puberty hits and he develops into a young man and testosterone begins to flow, now he's feeling the power. He's feeling what the muscles are doing. He's feeling the difference in, the power differential between he and most females. And now his monster is born. He begins to act out what his dad has demonstrated his whole life. And how he is reinforced is that he suddenly got girls that are scurrying not to make him mad, walking on eggshells, going above and beyond to be nice to him. See my point? I said the other night, that family was abused. We got a little glimpse of that when the aunt spoke, and she said that he would call, "Where are you? Where are you?" And I would suspect that he was probably saying, "You're going to get it when you get home." I told you you could stay for 30 minutes. It's been 45 minutes. Get on the road. That's my guess. That's wild speculation Friday night on Saturday morning. So, taking this guy, this monster, that was empowered and enjoyed the destruction, is reducing him to what he is. It's objectifying him into a single creature, which is an animal. He's not a monster anymore. He's done. 400 years. He's done. So making fun of him and calling him a toad and playing funny music, those are all things that give back the power to the victim. That's what it takes to get, when you become a victim of trauma or abuse or a crime, it's the feeling of victimization, the experience of trauma is that your power, your sense of control has been stripped from you. When you're a little kid and you have somebody that's mistreating you, somebody's abusing you, parents beating you up or whatever, and you're only 2 feet tall, then that raging, crazed monster is a real live monster. It's not like a monster in a book. It's the real deal, and it's standing in your bedroom door. That child has no control. That child has no way to protect themselves. But when you go back to that very same memory, and you're now a 50-year-old person, and you're big, and you look at that screaming, raging monster, then you have the realization why you're not a monster at all. You're just a broken down, probably alcoholic old loser piece of you know what. I've had people that I've spoken with who experienced the most heinous type of abuse in childhood, the worst that there is to imagine, that would be able to laugh and feel vindication at being able to point out the flaws of their abuser. To make fun of the way they smelled, or to make fun of the size of their nose. Take back their control. And you say, what would you do? You know, if that little kid, the person you were, that little kid was on the, bedroom floor, cowering in the corner because dad is drunk and raging again. What happens though when you're 50-year-old and you're standing between that little kid and that abuser? What do? Oh, I'd knock the shit out of them. Exactly. You can't hold that little kid responsible for what happened. You let the violence and the abuse belong with the person that created it, and then you reduce them to a caricature of a human being, someone non-threatening. That day when Mr. Toad was found guilty, 4 life sentences plus 1 year for Breezy, thank goodness. That was a good day for Megan. That was a great day for those children. You saw how scared he was. He was terrified. Because up until now, he's been the monster, and there are bigger and badder monsters in a federal penitentiary. I guess he's not going to the feds, but you know what I mean. So using humor helps the victim feel safe, and it brings a renewal of the perception of control. Another reason that Another reason that I use humor is because laughter, it makes your brain release additional serotonin and dopamine, and that feels good, and it makes people feel better. And when we're having these conversations about these horrible tragedies, it feels bad. It's a bad feeling. I know some of you guys have watched. You've watched as I've. We'll be watching a testimony or a crime of some sort, and I'm doing my usual kind of making light of things and joking around and whatnot, and then every now and then it'll get away from me and my anger will show, right? Well, because these animals are victimizing people, real live people that matter. So I am angry. It does hurt me. It makes me, the knowledge of what Megan, Toad, and those kids had to live through it's wrong. So that being said, the humor is not disrespect for the victim. It's actually the exact opposite. It's actually a protective move toward the victim. That is the result of what I do. One of the other reasons that I use humor is that this is for just our viewers, just the people that watch and listen as we talk and go through these crimes. It's okay to have an emotion and not fully embrace the nightmare. It's okay to keep an emotion modulated, and it's okay to talk about things that are difficult and keep a smile. That is okay, and that's part of doing what you do. People, once you reach a certain age, life is here, whether you feel like participating or not. And so I took the wrong turn, and that makes me so mad. Hold on just a minute. Okay, you know what? I'm actually at the end of my video. So, yeah. So, that's why I use humor like I do in my videos. I do think that it's helpful, especially in some of these cases that we talk about. And I'm going to tell you right now, this you can put this in your smoke and pipe it. No, you can put this in your pipe and smoke it. When we get to the Lori Vallow and Chad Daybell case, you better be able to take back some of your control, because it is going to be gut-wrenching. I can promise you that. You need to be able to put things in perspective and consider the facts and all that took place in the investigation, but then you need to have an ability to move back away from that intensity of the trauma, especially if you have at some point in your life been a victim of crime. All right? Okay. I finished the video before the sun came up. Can you believe it? All right. I'll be back later. Talk to you later. Bye.